So let's go back to these kids, right? Let's go back to these children. So, how long you say you don't do it that much now, but how much are when did you realize that you wanted to teach kids? That you wanted to or when did how did that come about? Just briefly.
Man, Jesus Christ. I wish I could. All of these stories are stories, right?
Right?
So
That's why I live for. I live for stories.
gotta love this stuff, right? So I had actually, okay, I quit my job and I'm out here trying to figure it out, right? I'm like, I don't have another, I don't know how I'm gonna make money. So I tried to get with this organization called Groundswell when I first moved to New York because they do murals, and I was like, well, I'm an artist and this is a great opportunity, so I hit them up. And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool. We don't know you, so what we're gonna do is put you in this box with everybody else, and you can work your way up." And I
Mm.
was like, nah.
I just I just talked to Bus. I'm not doing
But
that.
mind you, this is before bus though.
I
This
know.
is
I'm
before.
just playing with you. Right,
Right,
right, right.
right, right. So I was like, whatever. So I'm out, and like the beauty of New York is that you can find different orgs to paint with. So I connected with this group called JMZ Walls, right? And they basically have walls, and then as an artist, I call them. They say, yeah, we got a wall over here available. Come knock it out. Cool. No money involved, but it's like you get to paint. So I was like, all right, cool. As I'm painting, this brother comes up and he was like, oh, so you did that? I love when they do that. You did that? No, I'm just
I
thinking.
didn't. I
Um,
just shook this can for nothing, but that's
I'm waiting for him to come back right now. That's yeah.
right, right. He went to go get some chicken. He'll be back. He'll be
Right,
back.
right. He ain't bringing me nothing, but he'll be back. So with that said, I was like, yeah. And he was like, yo, this is kind of cool. Do you think you could do something like this? And it turned come to find out he was actually one of the directors at Groundswell.
Oh,
So instead,
wow.
right. So he brought me in instead of having to bring me in at the bottom and work my way up, he brought me in at the top. Right. So
Look,
I was like, oh, perfect. And so Groundswell, I had to again, I had to start as an assistant and do certain things
sure.
like that. But as I started building through it, it was like, I was doing maybe like 5 or 6 murals with them a year and be set for the year. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like, well, not set, but like be okay.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I got enough money to pay rent off of these murals. And I was like, oh shit. Like we're starting to cook with something. You know what I mean? Like this is actually working. And so with Groundswell, it was like I would go to different schools, different after school programs, all the way around. Specifically Rikers. That was an
Hmm,
interesting one. Yeah, so I have about 3 or 4 murals running on Rikers Island right now.
really?
Yeah, yeah, through Groundswell.
That's
Through
all
Ground
right.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's a
So
story for
then
another day.
what happened?
That's a story for another day.
Oh man, the things that I saw and
Oh, oh.
I'm gonna leave it at this one. This is the one I'm gonna leave it at. So
Uh,
we had to go on a tour. And it was like
sure.
a group of us. So there was maybe like 8 different groups that were going to do different projects. We started at one facility and it was like, okay, we're on Rikers Island in jail. Like the shock of that by itself was just
Is
like,
enough. Yep.
yo, this is what we're doing right now. Okay. But at first it was kind of like, oh, okay, it shockingly isn't so bad. If you've been to a hospital and if
Mm.
you've been to a public school, it looks exactly like jail. My, and that's some scary stuff right there. How acclimated we got real quick, right? But
Wow.
with that
Yeah.
with that said though, we ended up going to the second facility, the third facility. They progressively kept getting worse, right?
Mm.
It's like,
Oh,
oh,
no.
we're heading towards Supermax now. Like,
Oh.
oh. By the time we got to the last one, right? We hit this corner and we see this case. And this case is going from the floor to the ceiling. And it is about maybe like 5 feet wide, right? And in it are all these little just artifacts. And we're, like if you were at the museum and how there would be a case and there would be these little artifacts in there and there would be a little tag on it to tell you like what the
Yeah.
artifact is and stuff. And then we were looking at it like, okay, oh, those are all shanks There was a shank wall case of confiscated
No,
objects used to stab and or
no,
kill people with. We was
no.
like, and you leaving us here? Like, bruh.
Oh
I
man.
was like, we have to stay here by ourselves. Oh man. But I mean, at the end of the day, we live to tell about it, right?
Right.
We live to tell the
That's
story.
crazy. So you so I guess through Groundswell, you eventually ended up being able to teach kids. Is that how it kind of led to that? Is that
Well, Groundswell is the organization, so they basically are the hub, and they get like public school contracts or,
Mm.
you know, jail incarcerated contracts, wherever they get their contracts from, and then they have a hub of artists, and then from that collection they kind of send us out. But surprisingly enough, well, not surprisingly enough, there weren't really that many black men. There was maybe like 5 of us out of
really?
out of like a lot more than 5.
You know, and so we certainly look at things. We've known each other for a long, long time. It's been
Yeah,
at least 20 years.
yeah,
And I know that through the years, we've talked about a variety of subjects, and oftentimes we've had we've always been good citizens. None of us really got in trouble, but we were always aware of where the police were and the dangers that were right around the corner, especially in Cleveland Heights, right?
yeah.
I remember living in Cleveland when I first moved to Cleveland, and Siege, my rhyme partner, our good friend, he would tell me, say, dude, do not speed on in Heights. Don't speed in Cleveland Heights.
Don't do it.
You look at he would tell me, look at the color of the sign, of the street sign, and if it's a certain color, then you in Heights, slow
Slow
down,
down.
slow down,
That's a
slow
fact.
down.
That's a fact.
To this day, I've only gotten 2 speeding tickets anywhere in that vicinity,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
both in Cleveland Heights.
I,
Amazing.
I, I wouldn't doubt that one of them was probably for going too slow.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
possible. It's very
right.
possible. Like,
Very possible.
what are
Right.
you doing?
You going 15 and 25. I'm looking
Oh
for
man, my bad.
parking.
My bad, officer. My bad. My bad. But you know, but obviously, I'm here to talk about it. I'm here. I'm okay. Nothing ill happened. But last year and these last 4 years, 5 years, we've seen an increase of social injustice when it comes to police officers and how they're dealing with black men. And it's not like it's nothing new. It's just the only thing that's new now is people are actually able to catch it. They're recording it so
Yeah.
that we're actually able to see it. And I knew you were teaching, and when the young man Elijah McClain, the black violinist, the massage therapist, when he was killed by police officers, the interview that you gave really struck a chord with me, because I know you did a mural for him, and you were I want to say, it's one of 10 10 artists that did murals for him just across the country. I want to say it was across the country. But obviously I knew you, and all of the artwork was beautiful. It was all heartfelt. But your interview really dragged me in, because you had said, and the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because you mentioned, like, hey, there's not of that whole group that was there, at the Rikers situation or working with Groundswell at the time or whatever. Hey, there wasn't that many brothers in there at all. There's only five of y'all. And you had mentioned, like, hey, I feel like I taught a kid like, Elijah, McClain. Like, I feel like I know that kid, the introvert kid's a little bit different, and wasn't into no trouble, wasn't into anything. Um, can you tell me how that mural kind of came to be, and how you mentioned earlier, the another thing that really kind of made itself manifest in that conversation was, you said it earlier today, it's like, hey man, I ain't, I don't do murals just to do murals. Like it's got to be something for me to want to do a mural. I'm gonna do my research, find everything about it, because I'm just not gonna put it up and and have people misinterpret it or whatever.
Yeah,
So can you talk about that a little bit?
definitely. So it's funny because last year, um, it really picked up in terms of content in your work, right?
Hmm.
So up to that point, it had been like, for me, it had been like, all right, I wanted to say some things, but it wasn't like, uh, it wasn't as driven, you know. Um, but this year, this last 2020 even,
Right.
um, it was like they this is, I don't know how other to say it, but metaphorically, they took the cuffs off. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like it was like, no, we want you to do you, and I'm like, well, there's a lot of people behind me, right? That I'm gonna be talking for too. You know what I mean? Like this isn't just my opinion. So just to segue into the Elijah joint, I did one on Fourth Ave in Brooklyn that was like somebody that came and did a run up Black Lives Matter, which just means that they did it illegally. They just came up with a bucket of paint and rolled out Black Lives Matter real big on this board. And then called the owner, said, "Hey, sorry, not sorry." Owner said, "Cool, bring more people." So then
Mm.
then it was just like it started to manifest, right? And like you can find this online too, like the Fourth and Union Ave. It's like it's kind of one of the more famous ones, if you want to say it like that. I don't know, more documented, let's say. So with that said, though, was like in that piece, like I actually did a brother screaming, right?
Yeah.
And with that is it like it felt so good because it was like so often, we're only able to show certain emotions, and if we show anger, it's only interpreted in one way. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's not like this anger can't be directed at me. You know what I mean? Or something like that, right? So it was like for him to be screaming Black Lives Matter, and you can see just the
Yeah.
pain, anguish, and emotion in his face, and it's like so many people that drove by, that walked by, that came by were just like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, over and over and over again. People honking horns as they were driving by. Thank you, thank you. Yes, this is what we need right now. And this is in the heart of all the protests. So I'm like, protests were coming down the street behind us, even. You know what I mean? Like it was like that. And so with all of that energy happening, I wanted to do the Elijah, but then I also wanted to do um um oh my god, I forgot the sister's name. Erica Garner.
Hmm.
And where Erica Garner is in Staten Island, and I was gonna put Elijah there, right? And I was like, man, because it was burning in me that I needed to get this piece out, right? And it was like, all right, but Erica's a little bit more fitting for Staten Island because it's like, blocks away from where her father was murdered. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it was like, okay, so I put it there and it actually did what it was supposed to do. The people saw it. Again, I'm not making money off of these jobs. So it was like people saw it, it resonated with people, and it was like, all right, cool, that's what's up. It did what it was supposed to do. The Elijah piece in particular, though, so there's this way of doing a grid, right? That street artists do, graph writers, whatever. That instead of like making 1-inch squares and then figure scaling up the image from this size to that size, we'll do
Mm.
something called a scribble grid, which means that we'll just make a mess on the
Yeah.
wall, and
Yeah.
then you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I do now. After I read the article, Vince. I read the article. The article had it in there about.
Oh, okay,
No, but it's good for you to explain because our listeners might not know. So that's good. I'm messing with you, but go ahead.
okay, okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Like,
I
damn,
didn't know
I
before
said,
last night. I didn't know before last night, but I researched. Go ahead, continue.
okay. So with that said, I was like, instead of making a mess, I'm gonna use the words that he said
Yeah.
to make the grid, right? And so when the words went up, mind you, there's a brother painting right next to me. and he's clueless to the whole scenario. He doesn't know nothing about Elijah McClain. He's clueless. He just think I'm there just to do a piece like everybody else is, right? So I'm like, nah, mine's a little different. So, I write it all out, and some people who were familiar with the story already read the words and was just like, oh, that's the Elijah McClain story. You know what I mean? And they were immediately like, oh man, that's deep. And in my mind, I was like, oh, you don't know the half yet. You know what I mean? Because then I saw like there was different photos of him. And mind you, I can't get a photo of him personally, so I had to use what was available. And I
Sure.
searched and searched and searched, and then finally saw that one, the one that of him playing the violin, and was just like, oh my God, that one, it's literal heartstrings,
Yeah.
literal. And so combining those two really brought it home for me. You know what I mean? Combining the words that he was saying with it was close enough. I don't know, I wouldn't say realistic image of him, but it was, a pretty detailed composite of him in the act of doing something that has nothing to do with violence or drugs or
Mm-hmm.
any of that. It was like it was just a human being, dude. And I feel like so much of the time, like I can wrap my whole thing up like this, man. I want to paint human beings. I want to paint people that are people, not one-dimensional characters that in the boxes we keep getting put in. I want to paint somebody like a black man mad. You know what I mean? Like you normally can't see that because it's going to send the wrong message. Well, let's change the message. You know what I'm saying? If it's sending the wrong message, then is it the me that's giving the message or who's receiving the message?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, that's where public art is beautiful because I do the shit and walk away. Your interpretation is your interpretation. If you mad, why are you mad? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, well, and that's the thing, so we both have a lot of experience working in spaces with a lot of our colleagues and counterparts not being people of color, right? And since we network as well as we do and work in those spaces, and we a lot, and in some cases, I'm speaking for you, but let me know if I'm wrong. In some of these cases, where some of these folks only Black connection, right, might be the only cat that they know, or one of the few people they know that is of African descent, right, person of color. So we end up being the cipher to the Black world. I feel in a lot of cases, and so we're getting asked a lot of these questions, and like you're right, it can be really, the whole experience can be really frustrating, can be really humbling to you have to really watch your words and you have to really constantly. But I'll tell you this, I think that when I saw the mural, when I saw the mural, the Black Lives Matter with the kid yelling Black Lives Matter, I heard it. I heard it. So in that, I'm not the biggest art enthusiast. Growing up, I wasn't the biggest art enthusiast. Uh, it's just, it may be being young, I just never was exposed to the type of art that really resonated with me. Maybe that's what it is, or maybe I hadn't seen enough art. But
Right.
there's something about uh, like mural art. There's something about that really resonates with me. Like I see it, and it's like, okay, how much time, the scale of it, there's a meaning behind it. And since a lot of it comes from, not all of it, but since a lot of it's coming from a hip hop perspective, at least in my mind, my perspective, I feel like there's always going to be there might be a hidden message in there, right? It's a little deeper than just a picture of a girl crying, or a picture of what. There's something deeper behind it, and so I like that. Hip hop is like that puzzle, right? You kind of got to figure it out. You can't just read it that way.
There's no
So
quick reads in hip hop, man. Not real hip hop.
mhm. No, I know. It's a beautiful thing. And that's the other thing why I really pay attention to your work, because I knew you as a very good lyricist. I knew you as a very good lyricist, growing up
Mm.
in the game. I was like, man, you gotta really listen to that dude. Like you Listen, he good. That brother good. Like, no, he's good. He's really good. That dude's dope. That dude's dope. Uh,
That's funny. Thank
you
you,
know,
though.
and I was happy just to be able to produce a couple of tracks for you. I remember back in the oh my goodness. Oh, Jimmy, the songs we used to come out of there. But anyway, let me get back to business. Let me get back
Yeah.
to business. Um, one thing, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, I guess your recent project that you're working on right now, if I'm, is this Bronx Brewery? Looks like you are working on doing the artwork for Bronx Brewery. So obviously it's a brewery, in Bronx. And when will is that been released yet, or is that?
That's coming out in March. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be nationwide. I'm not sure what their distribution looks like, but so I did the American Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be their staple beer. So if you see that, just know that, your
No, that
man
you did it.
has something to do with that.
Dang. So here's the question. Is it good, Vince? Is it good? No, it's good. It's gotta be good. It's gotta be. It's gotta
You
be.
know what? What's funny is like I have to go to the brewery next month to go do a visit and a tour and all of that stuff, and then they'll give me my beer then. But I don't know just yet. You know what I mean? Like
No,
I
understandable.
hope so.
Yeah.
They do this special thing though. Like Bronx Brewery is actually kind of cool. They do this thing with whatever. They'll do like so I know like a friend of mine, Trap, had like some like berry IPA something. Another friend of mine, Queen Andrea, had like some different kind of lager something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was like so you can like if you have something on your palate, like if I said in my mind I wanted a pumpkin
Sure.
berry beer, they'd be like,
We got it.
okay,
Yeah.
sure, we'll put a limited out for you. Like
That's cool.
interesting.
That's cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Like I'm gonna end up being a brewmaster off of this stuff.
So what's the one thing that you want to do? I mean, I'm still going to holler at you. One of the things I want you to do is my next book. I want you to do the cover. I know I want you to do the artwork for the next book that I do. I've been looking see when you had time uh,
Yeah.
to do something like that, but you're super busy. But that's me. That's me being selfish. But what's your next, like, what's on your bucket list? What do you want to do?
Apparently, a book cover for my man Haiku is it's like the top of the list.
You heard it
Otherwise,
here,
there
people.
won't be any other projects.
You heard it here, people. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. That's funny.
The leg breaker just spoke it into existence. I'm okay. Okay. But nah, for real, man. Like I'm really I'm trying to start getting back more into like the animations. I did a lot of animations for like BET and stuff like that. So but I'm trying to start getting more into like the 3D animation of things to start like doing different routes like that. My business is actually starting to pop off now. So like I'm starting to get more jobs that are involved with like After Effects and more digital content. So that's happening. For like, can I do the most beautiful thing about this art stuff though? Right? Is I can say no to jobs now. Right?
Hmm.
Like, so if somebody calls me and says like, "Hey, we got this job. We want you to do that, da, 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 da." All right. Well, how much is it and where is it? It's here and it's this much. I'm good, thank you. Right? And I mean, like, these aren't cheap jobs. Like, I'm turning down some jobs,
Right.
but it's like, it's at the point now where it's like I can start to work smarter and not harder, right?
Sure.
So instead of doing, you know,
Everything.
yeah, exactly, and instead of doing 100 jobs for $1,000 a piece, I'm trying to like limit that to like 5 jobs for that same amount for the year total, you know,
Sure.
and all that is like, just directing it better, and using some of these accolades, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
know me, bro. Like, I don't really like tooting horns like that. You know what I mean? That's not really my bag. If you like it, cool. I'll mess with you. Let's work, but I'm never the one that's like, yeah, I'm the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what though? And I do know you, and I do know you. We never did that with, that was our approach with hip hop too, right? We
Yeah.
when we got up on stage, it's like, especially when we were going to a new city, we was like, hey, I don't know none of y'all.
Right.
I'm not gonna say anything more. Press play. Let's go, sound man. Let's go.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
let's rock. Let's
Right.
rock. And if
Right.
you like it, you like it. And more times than not, they liked it. And
More
then they
times than
asked
not.
you to come back more times than not. And I'm like, I don't gotta do all, you ain't gotta song and dance. Some of y'all might not like it, and that's fine. And that's the way you approach your art. I
Yeah.
think, and I think that's smart. Let the art speak. Let the art speak.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, like, real talk, when it comes to like the lyrics and the detail in the art are the joining things. The
Mm,
content, not so much. Like, if you think about when we were writing songs, right? This is like the best comparison. When you're thinking about writing songs, the the concept of the song was loose, right? Like, we had a loose general idea. The particulars, though, oh, those were like, I mean, we were counting syllables. We were
yeah.
like really crafting how the best way to say something. You can say something in one way, but then how do you make it even better? You know what I mean? Like, how do you say this so that it is just such an interesting thing to hear, even. So it's like that same thing translates to the work itself, where it's like, all right, I have to be very detail oriented in order to get better, right? So, like, concepts, you can have best concepts in the world, but if you paint like trash, nobody's really going to care. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's same thing with the rhymes. If your rhymes is trash, nobody's going to hear you. So you got
Sure.
to get better. You know what I mean? And that was the beauty of the Monkeys in particular, is that we were like steel sharpening steel.
Mhm.
And so when I here have that dope, what into basically what I am, what y'all made me into. I don't have that no more. So that's like something that I have to go back and remember and bring to the forefront every now and then, to say like, okay, you still have all of these skills that'll help you. You know what I mean? Like, it might not be in the writing of rhymes, but at the same time, you still want to have that same detail, that same technical aspect of things. And I think that's what starts to speak more so than anything else.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I've used, you know, uh, I talk. I do a lot of motivational speaking engagements and things like that, where I'm talking to folks, and you're talking to groups of, sometimes it was 10, 15 cats, other times it was 100, 400, 500 cats or whatever. A lot bigger audiences. A lot of folks were asking me like, "Hey, how do you feel?" And I say, I still get nervous before I get up on stage. The same thing as when I was an MC. It's the same thing, but finding a way to channel that energy was different. I've learned uh, through being an MC.
Yeah.
I learned from y'all. I was like, man, Ion is real confident up there. He he up there he up there spelling his name like he teaching them ABCs up in here. Why? Hey, yeah, here. All right. If my and I felt like it, since we were a crew, I was like, well, if he's confident, I ain't got really nothing to worry about. We're good. We're good. And
Yeah.
I think that, I think that's how we learned. I think that's how we learned. But in speaking of learning, man, I really am hoping, the intent of doing this show and having you on is, I'm hoping that the listener learns a little bit about you, learns a little bit about the art, learns to follow you and see what you're up to, because you're not just doing the art just to do the art. I think your art is with a purpose, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you and your skill. Certainly appreciate the friendship, and your time. We're gonna have you back. We're gonna have you back I don't know what lager you're gonna be doing next time, but
Who knows what's gonna happen next time, man? I don't know
who knows?
where I'm gonna be, bro.
Who knows? Who
I
knows?
might
But
be living in Africa, man. That
hey,
might be what's
we
happening.
didn't even get a chance to talk about Africa. That sucks.
Next time,
Next
part
time.
two.
Next time, part 2. We definitely have to do that, man. Anything that you wanted to say, like as far as where people can catch you, where people can follow you, if they want to?
I think everything starts at vballentine.com right now. Everything is V Ballentine. If you looking for it, VBALLENTINE. Anything. You know what I mean? And I'm popping up. Got you.
That's awesome. That's all right.
Word.
That's all right. Well, hey, again, appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll be talking soon. We'll be talking soon. That's for
My
sure.
brother, you already.